Appreciate you guys being here, especially all of those of you guys who went to California. It's great to see you guys get back. I mean that sincerely. I watch a lot of other press conferences. Not everyone has the commitment from the people that cover them the way you guys do. So it's cool to go out there. I think, as I said after the game, I just have to say it again. Our fans were spectacular, just absolutely amazing. To have that many people take their hard-earned money and go out there, or people who live there, that support Husker Nation. So it's just such an amazing thrill, and I just am unbelievably grateful. I'm going to say a couple things for a minute, so just forgive me. But I do want to make sure I highlight just sort of all the things that are going on campus right now. Like, obviously, volleyball, number one. I mean, I don't know, have they lost a set? Was it 40-some in a row, 43? I mean, it's just absolutely amazing. But our rifle team, number one right now, and where they've come from in 2 years, amazing. Wrestling, I can't wait to, it's really cool that Bud went out and walked them out and see him wrestling at number two, bowling at number two. So really cool things happening. I'm hoping I can maybe get to men's or women's basketball here soon. I mean, they're off to exciting starts and doing great things. And, one of the cool things in my job is when we have a huge win like we did against UCLA and you get the text from Fred and Amy and all those people. So really, really, really excited. State high school playoffs. I know there's 28 teams still in it, so good luck to those guys. I do want to highlight a couple things. It was a huge win, and to go on the road. I think it's our first time having three, road wins since 2014, and we have one more chance, which would be the first time since 2010. So we're going to continue to work this week, so we're ready for that game next week. Obviously TJ being just the fifth true freshman, and I thought he went out and he was masterful. He did a great job, and I think the team really responded to him and had his back, and he brought joy and energy, and it was a lot of fun to see him doing what he was doing. Defensively, we still haven't not allowed 400 yards this season. We're only 7 teams in the country have not allowed 400 yards this season. So while I know there's things we wish we could do just a little bit better, there's a lot of things that we're doing at a really, really high level, and we're doing it with a lot of young players. And so I hope our players see, hey, continue to buy into the first floor of the development, continue to buy into Coach Butler and their position coaches, and where we are defensively will only continue to take off. And you see guys playing their best football, right? You see Keona Davis have a career day. You see Dylan Rogers get out there. You see Andrew Marshall making plays. Deshaun as a senior batting the ball down and making havoc plays. So excited and really proud of our special teams. Top 25 in punt returns. Punt return defense were third. Kickoff returns were fourth. Kickoff return defense were 14th. And so, Eck obviously does a tremendous job, he and his staff, but I think our players have really bought into it. So, anytime you can go out and do the things that, we're doing special teams-wise and defensively, you give yourself a chance. And then, I personally believe Emmett Johnson should be in New York for I think he should be a Heisman candidate. I think he should be a Doak Walker finalist, if not winner. And I think what he's doing is, fantastic. I hope people appreciate seeing him. He's a first-team All-American. And I don't know who was the last person that was first-team All-American. Was since 2011, Levante David. And so, just a couple highlights, because hopefully our social media people will mash it up and they can make it go. But, he leads the nation in yards from scrimmage with 1,431 yards from scrimmage in 10 games. Ranks second in the FBS in total rushing yards and fifth in yards per game. Leads the nation by accounting for 37% of his team's total yards. Among power conference players, he's number one at 37.1. Jeremiah Love, another great player at Notre Dame, is second at 29.6. Emmett is one of only 3 players in the FBS with at least 10 rushing touchdowns and 3 receiving touchdowns. Only running back in power conference play with 4 100-yard rushing games in conference play. 2 pages, that's how good he is. Most rushing yards for the Huskers since the Doak Walker Award finalist Amir Abdullah in 2014. Most touchdowns for a Nebraska player since Amir Abdullah had 22 touchdowns in 2014. Emmett became the first player in Big Ten since at least 1995 to have more than 125 rushing yards, more than 100 receiving yards, a rushing touchdown, and 2 receiving touchdowns in the same game. Wow. First player in Nebraska history to have 100 rushing yards and 100 receiving yards in a game. He'll win a bunch of awards this week, and we haven't been able to announce them yet. But really, really proud of Emmett, his character. And, I do have to say this. Like, if you saw the end of the game, you saw the TV copy, which I had a chance to see the TV copy. Everything that we've always wanted. Sometimes, it was a really good question that Sam asked me last year. Like, hey, what kind of guys are you looking for? At the end of that game, they started interviewing me, and I was like, I said, TJ, get over here. They don't want to interview me. TJ, they want to interview you. And TJ immediately starts to talk about Dylan. Then he immediately starts to talk about the brother playing for his brothers on the team. And then Emmett gets in, and Emmett talks about Dylan. Then he talks about TJ. Then he talks about the O-line. Then he talks about all the other guys. And so in today's day and age, to have a team that talks about each other and not just themselves is really, really, really hard to do. And so I'm very proud of the guys. It's not me, that's the team. And I hope our players in this bye week take a moment to see how far they've come personally and where they're headed, and also look at the examples of the guys on the team who waited their turn. It's very, 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 very hard, and it's very, very not in vogue anymore to wait your turn. You know, sometimes it's like, well, I'll just go here and do this, just go there. But guys like Emmett, and they had chances, you know, they could have, but they stayed, and he deserves everything he's getting as long as everybody else. So really proud of the things that are happening. It should be a great bye week for us to get healthy, develop some young players, really look at each guy and what we can do to help them, and then continue to recruit. So with that, it was long, I apologize, but I think probably some of that needed to be said, and I'll answer your questions.
Why do you think Emmett hasn't gotten the national attention until these last, I guess, couple weeks?
Yeah, I think I don't know. I don't know. Hopefully he will now, though, right? I mean, the flaw in college football today is so much of it is preseason this, preseason that. Like look at the rankings of the teams that were the top teams, and really the CFP has figured it out, right? Like they do it now. They wait and see your body of work, and they do it now. And so, you know, this team's going to be really good, but hey, wait, they're 3-6, and you know this team. Like what's Minnesota's record right now? I don't know, 6-3. I mean, like, how could you ever lose? Well, they're a pretty good team, and so. I just think, people kind of bias things. Like this team has 2 losses and this team has 2 losses. This team's still in the top 15. This team's out of the top 25 because a lot of it's just pre. So, Emmett's having a breakout season. Emmett will have a lot of decisions to make. Does he want to go play in the NFL? You know what I mean? If Emmett decided to come back, he obviously would be a preseason All-American, Heisman Trophy. He'd be on all the watch lists, So, I'm not so sure he shouldn't go play in the NFL, right? I think he's going to be a great pro player. So, but I think that's probably it as much as anything, right? But he's been dominant in big games. He's also been dominant in tough situations. And I think the one key stat, and I think Emmett would be the first to tell you, I mean, we have the best blocking wideouts. I mean, I have NFL guys sending me tapes of like, man, look at your guys blocking. We have the best blocking wideouts. I mean, they're literally out there like hunting. They're not blocking, they're hunting. So we have great blocking wideouts. We have an O-line that, I hope everyone appreciates how well that O-line run blocks. I mean, they block everything. Luke Lindenmeyer, the way Luke blocks, Heinrich, Caden Nectarnock has become like a hammer for us. So I think there's a lot of pieces to it. But I think what's really, really crucial about Emmett is they're coming in conference games. He didn't go get like 300 yards against, so-and-so, and now all of a sudden that inflates his stats. Like Kenneth Williams, we are where we are in kickoff returns. Those are in conference games. He didn't have some of these teams, like you look at them, they had a bunch of, returns against the FCS school they played. Emmett's doing it versus real competition, and Minnesota was a tough game for us. I thought he was spectacular in that game. So it's not like he had 1 or 2 big breakout games. It's just consistent execution, and like I said, I'm sure he'd be the first to tell you it's all those guys all doing it to allow Emmett to have the success that he's having.
As far as all that goes, Emmett's rolling. I think he's only given up 2 sacks in the last 3 games. I think that's right. What's changed? Is the offensive line has it taken a step forward? What's the explanation?
Yeah, well, I think the offensive line certainly has taken a step forward. You've also lost a lot. I mean, Donnie's had to develop guys to be ready to play. I mean, we've had a lot of guys get hurt, right? I mean, you look at your right tackle spot. You've had Teddy, you've had Gunner, you went back to Teddy. Now you're playing with Turner. You've had a lot of turnover and injuries and things like that. I think there's something to consistency. There's something to like the year before, like we just talked about with Emmett. Like, Dana's in his first full year, and I think he's evolving in terms of like what he likes and what we do well. I think we're running the ball more. It's not probably quite as much drop back, and so we're not under as much duress. TJ moved around some. Like, as I said, some of the sacks. If you go back and listen to me after those games, right? Like I think people just kind of blow out, he's just coached me, but like Some of the sacks were coverage sacks. Some of the sacks were 4-second sacks. Some of them were just, hey, we absolutely just got run over, right? Like, I think in the Minnesota game, it just was not a good night for us. It was not a good night for us, and they played really well. And but I think it's just a little bit of everything, to be quite honest with you. I feel like there's one other point to it that I had in my head, but I think we're doing the things that we do really well at a higher level, and like TJ did a good job of getting the ball out. We're running the football, so you sometimes have to live with, like, it was on the last drive, second to last drive. It was 3rd and 13, and we had a 2-play pack. It was either a drop back pass or an outside zone, and if we got 5 or 6 yards, I was going to go for it, and we had the perfect look. TJ goes to the outside zone, and the guy just beats one guy. But I think we're doing things like that and just living with the result a little bit more. But yeah, I think the offensive line, they've really worked hard. And I will also go back to Minnesota. We also played. This is just part of football. It's not an excuse, but Pritchett got ejected for playing hard and getting the targeting call, and then Rocco's finger went out his hand. So you go down, kind of a line that's already kind of beat up a little bit. You go down, and 2 guys have to step in and play, and not putting anything on them. But just it's just not a good night. So yeah, I think it's probably a mixture of all those things. I mean, as coaches, I think we have to adapt, but our players have worked really hard, and they've never stopped doing the process. And that's the biggest thing for me is, like, you see a lot of teams, they lose, and even last week, I mean, I'm still mad that we lost to USC. I'm still upset, and I still say to myself, what could I have done better? And there's a lot of things I could have done better. But, we did come back, and a lot of teams wouldn't have come back. And so I think there's real character and grit on the team.
Because Pritchett, has he, I don't know, I don't grade him, has he found a groove?
Yep. Yeah, Pritchett Pritchett's playing really well. He's playing really well.
There was you guys have punted the ball more on those 3rd and longs, just accepting that you may not get the first down. How did you maybe evolve to that? I don't know if it is an evolution, but how did you arrive at that point in the last 2 or 3 games, and how do you feel like it's worked out, forcing teams to go long field? Even UCLA had to go 96 yards to score that touchdown.
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of a couple things, to be honest with you, Sam. I think we're still going for it on, like, 3rd, we're still attacking 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7. I think you look at the stats, like 3rd and 11 plus. A lot of our sacks that happened, some of those games, we also were down at Minnesota, so you had to play a little differently. But I think we have great pressure packages. Like, we have, like, John's got all these things we like, and I think the one thing is people have just lined up and run the ball against us. So you go back to Michigan, it's the last drive, second to last drive, the one that they go up by 10, right? And it's 3rd and 13. I mean, on that drive, they ran a sprint out, they ran a screen, and they ran an outside zone. And so I'm on the headset, and I'm hearing John be like, I'm always like blitz. And I'm hearing him like, we're just going to check the zone versus this. And so then you relay that to the offense, like, hey, guys, all these exotic pressure packages that earlier in the year we were, trying to sort out and pick up, and, because we have great wideouts and we want to get them the ball. I think what we said is, like, hey, let's screen that stuff. When they give it some of that stuff, let's run it against it and then pick our spots. So I just think, we've kind of adapted, but it's still a team thing. Like, if you're down by 21, you can't do that, right? So against USC has great pass rushers, and our whole thought was, let's run the ball early, body blows, wear them down, and then throw it, later in the game when they're a little bit beat up. Going into this game, they didn't have a ton of sacks, but it was like, hey, let's run it versus. But that play, I mean, to be very clear, like, that was a check. Like, so if they came out and they were playing 4-man rush zone coverage, we were going to let it rip and throw a down the field pass. It was just because they came out and they looked different that he checked to the run. So.
How do you feel like Archie's done with the pooch punting, getting it inside the 10, the 15?
Yeah, I think Archie's done a great job. I mean, that's a huge play right there, right? I know obviously the penalty moved him back even further. Archie's like a lot of freshmen, right? He's at that point right now where, like, he's like analyzing and over, like, when he just goes out there and lets it rip, he does a great job. So, he's a guy. He's so good. He wants to put the ball at the 2 every time, but putting the ball down inside the 20, the odds are in your favor. And it's a shame that we didn't get the stop with a long field for them to go, because they had punted the ball back to Jacory, and they would have had to punt it to him, and he would have had a big return, and good things would have happened.
Along those lines of the way the offense has evolved through the year, Emmett has carried it 84 times in the last 3 games. Did you arrive at a place where you saw this season that his durability just was not going to be an issue, and you didn't need to necessarily limit his touches?
Yeah, I mean, I think he doesn't take a lot of big hits. Like, he's never like. And let me say this: like, you hear me freely talking about, like, hey, Emmett might go to the NFL. I think Mosey and Mackay, like if they went, like we wish we could get them more touches. We wish they were playing more, and they're having to wait their turn. There's two of the guys, they're probably a little frustrated by it, I'm sure, but they're such great team guys. But we're not getting a ton of like 3 and outs. Where we get a 3 and out early, and then it's a long drive, so we're not getting a ton of possessions. I think we had we have 3 possessions in the first half, and we scored on all 3. I'd sure love to get 5. I'd love to get a couple turnovers, and that's how you blow people out, right? That's how you're watching Indiana play people, and it's like, then they get a turnover, and they have a short field, and then all of a sudden it's 35-0. So that's the next step for us. But back to Emmett, I think the way we run the football, it's kind of we're running like downhill, running duo, running inside zone, a little outside zone sometimes for the RPOs, but a little pin and pull. But it's not, he's not taking huge hits. He's kind of fighting for yards, and his superpower is that he makes people miss, so he doesn't take a lot of direct shots. And so, I mean, there's never a time where he's been limited in practice. I think there was one Sunday we went to special teams, and I said, hey, just go catch balls with the quarterbacks because you don't even play on special teams. But he's not even limited in practice, so I think a lot of that's probably his running style plus the runs that we're running.
Hey, Coach, this will be probably the last time you guys can go out to recruit until January. How do you attack the days you get this week, and is it a 2026 priority, or are you looking at 2027 this week?
Yeah, both. They limited the amount of days you can have, so we don't have very many days left. I think we have like 6 days left. And to your point, there is nothing in December anymore. Now it's in January, so it kind of changes everything. So, we're still working on 26s. The portal's been moved back to January, but we all know that people are calling our guys, and so you kind of have to also, you have to look at your roster. You have to start looking at who you think is going to be in the portal, and then 26s and 27s both. So my plan is to head out on the road. Now we're still waiting to see all the FAA stuff, and can you fly here? There's some challenges to that we're waiting to see, because obviously some of the airports most affected are in some areas that we recruit pretty heavily. But yeah, I plan on going out on the road. I think Tequila and I are going to go out and continue to try to build off of what's happening right now.
I don't know if you call it a breakout game for Keona, because he's kind of been coming along as the whole season. But how have you seen his development curve? I know he had to gain weight to kind of play inside. He got here at maybe 240 pounds. Now he's 275. How far has he come, and how much more is out there for him?
Yeah, Keona. The thing I love about Keona, you saw it in the. I remember after the USC game, I said to him, hey, that was your best game. And a lot of plays you maybe couldn't see. Where he, we say like not like a huge like sack, but it's like he locked out a tackle, threw him, got on the tackle, so you could see like some of the technical things really starting to work with him. I think he'll just continue to get better and better. One thing about Keona is he's coachable. He's disciplined. He's coachable. When you look at us on defense, you have Javen doing really special things, right? You have Deshaun, Sierre, but you have a lot of guys that are underclassmen that are playing really good football. Judy had a really good game, but you look out there. Cade Petchock's a machine out there. I mean, he defends the run. The backers, V9 played a great game. I don't want to start. Andrew Marshall's playing really good football. Guthrie just continues to show up and show up and show up. Justin Rhett got in the game, played well. Jameer Khan. So there's a lot of young guys, and so what I want them to see is like, hey, just continue to stay with this thing, because these next 2 weeks is not like all right, we have 2 weeks left. We have a month of football to get better, and so what can Keona be by the bowl game? Say we're playing on December 31st or January 1st. Who knows what the bowl games are, but what can he get to by then? And I think that's true for a lot of these guys. You see them really ascending. I was really proud of Waneri. I mean, he was tired. He played a ton of plays in a row, and he did a really nice job, especially at the end of the half. He got that sack, and we were able to not let them have a field goal. So I think Terry, one of the things going back to with the question earlier, it's you don't want to have to change over your staff every year, because then you have this, right? And I think rosters will change over every year. This will be the first year like we can go, we can do whatever. We have the money now. We can do, I can't complain anymore, right? Like we got what we need, and so this is the first time where I have. But I want to keep the coaching staff, right? I want the coaches to stay, because I think that breeds, you don't want 3 new coordinators every year, So just think about Eckler's special teams a year more of the off-season drills, because our guys will get into the off-season this year, Sam, and they'll be like, oh, these drills really, really work. I'm going to do this. So I did them last year. I'm going to really do them, and you'll see guys understanding, hey, this is going to help me play in the NFL. And so, so Keona's a great example of that, but I just think that consistency is kind of throughout, and I'm really excited to see those guys. Like I told our staff today, we have a month of football left, not 2 games. We have a month of football left. You better take this week to coach your guys at the highest level possible.
Do you guys want to get defensive linemen in the portal, given how young you still are, or do you feel like maybe this group can develop so much in the next 8 months, not just the next month, but the next 8 months that you can kind of hold?
Yeah. So I think with the way college football's heading, we want to be a place where the best players in the country want to come. And so I told our coaches today, like, but we now in the previous couple of years, I had to make a lot of hard decisions because we didn't have the money everyone else had. We had good money. I mean, I will forever, like this would 7-3 is not where we want to be, but it's a pretty better place than where we've been. And I will always thank the Peds first and foremost because they stood in the gap and made this thing possible. But now with rev share and all the different things, like, before you had to make a decision, like, okay, we lost some really good defensive linemen in the portal last year, but we went out and got one area. We went out and got some of these. So you're able to replace that. And I think we did well in the portal last year. I think we won the portal last year. We can now go get anybody we want. At the same time, we also have the ability to keep our guys now, right? Like, guys don't have to be embarrassed about, hey, coach, I think I do, these people are offering me this. So we can offer I think we can now be the best of the best. So to answer your question, I want to put the best players in the country in this room and not having to worry about, hey, can I afford to do it now? Some people might still have more than us, but we got a lot. So it's kind of a unique thing. And, I like where our D-line's headed. Okay. I thought some guys are playing their best football. But yeah, we're going to continue to add. And we also know, I also know people are calling our guys right now too, So, but what I learned last year was, all right, some people left, I love them, wish them the best. I bet you some of them wish they could be back here right now, to be quite honest. And then, some people thought about leaving, and like Emmett thought about leaving, and not for money, not for just, hey, what situation, how are you guys going to use me? I bet you Emmett's pretty happy he's here right now. So, but some guys like some guys like, hey, they're in a good situation. I'm proud of them, excited for them. So everybody will be a little different, but I'm no longer worried about, we got what we need to go get the best players in the country. And they all, where else can you go? And we keep walking into other people's stadiums and taking over their stadiums in the Big Ten. It's pretty elite, so you can come here and have an amazing experience.
Are you optimistic with this bye week you can come out of it with pretty full bore with guys like McCullough, for example? Would he be able to?
Yeah, Deshaun, I think it's just a matter of can he get healthy in time? He tried last week. He really tried. They're running some tests on him today, so we'll see. I know if he can go, he'll want to go. I think we'll get Dawson Merritt back, I hope. So I think we will be as healthy. And then, we're late in the year. It's a 2 bye week year. We're not going to beat them up this week. We'll practice. We'll practice the young guys on Wednesday. We're going to lift and run on Tuesday. We'll practice the young guys on Wednesday, developmental guys that are, still trying to ascend. And then we'll do a first game for next week's opponent on Thursday. Even the coaches, like these 2 days, are spending these 2 days on our final game planning that game because it's a short week. And, we don't have the Penn State time yet. And then they'll spend 2 days game planning next week. So, Penn State game. So, so it won't be a kill 'em week. We had that bye week already.
I think you spoke about him after the game a little bit, but Dylan Rogers, when did you start to see him maybe take that next step to be in position where he is now?
I think it goes back to what I said about Eckler and the drills. You see, what Dylan's done is he's been really consistent on special teams. And, Dylan's always been a player that we say, if he just ever cut it loose and went, you know what I mean? Because he's just kind of always he's athletic, but he just never quite and it reminds me a lot of Johnny Bullock. John was like that, right? And then finally one day I think Bullock got so mad at me and Rob and everybody, he just said, screw you guys, and just started running through people's faces, and now he's an NFL player, right? Dylan, Deshaun got banged up. Dylan went out in the game and played, and he played really well. And so I just think for me, it's we have a lot of guys who I know are good players. They just need the opportunity to get on the field to show what they can do, and he got it, and I'm proud of him.
I think you just answered the question, but so you didn't have to alter your practice schedule because you have a young QB in this situation?
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a great question. You're like, hey, come out and get some more. No, I think for as much as anything for TJ, it's just, hey, how am I going to watching the tape? How am I going to attack? We're not going We're not going to invent a bunch of new stuff. Maybe Dana will say to me or Glenn will say to me, "Hey, can we go out there on Wednesday and get him some reps?" But the thing with TJ is, man, he's been here in the spring, he's been here in fall. Like when he went out there in the first couple games, he was prepared and ready. So no, I don't even think of TJ as a young player. I think part of it's getting into the game and knowing when to run and when to check the ball down and all those things. And I can't really mimic too much of that. I think just the game reps. I do think that one of the big things about going to Penn State is going to be the cadence. Just how loud it can get there. And so we'll do some of that stuff on Thursday. But so maybe they'll want to put him in on Wednesday. But I feel really good about our process. I mean, and the way it works. Even going back to what I said about the roster, I feel really good now with where we are. We're in the building. We've got all the right people. I'm not going to Troy with a big wish list of demands this year. Like, hey, we need this, this, and this. We've done that for 3 years. We're finally caught up to where programs of this nature should be. We have everything you could possibly want. And so, I have an unbelievable quarterback coach. And if you don't, just the tape speaks that, right? Like Glenn doesn't get nearly any I don't know but I don't even I just take it for granted how good he is. You know what I'm saying? But he's been doing that for me for years. I mean, PJ Walker had 16 touchdowns and 18 interceptions his sophomore year. Glenn came in and PJ was elite, right? We started Charlie Brewer as a freshman at Baylor, and Glenn coached him, and he was elite. So I just think, you look at TJ, credit goes to TJ, but I think Glenn's done a really, really, really nice job, and I think it's important I say that. And I'm really saying that, to be honest with you, I'm talking a lot to people out there in recruiting. Hey, if you're a good quarterback, you want to go somewhere, I'd come play for Daniel Holgerson and Glenn Thomas. Imagine how much TJ Latif's phone's going to be ringing here from other schools. Hey, come be our quarterback. Come be our quarterback. And you know what? Good for him. I love the kid. I hope he wants to stay with us. But you know what? We got good coaches. We got good quarterback coaches. I mean, I was a quarterback coach. I was the worst. I mean, I was just not a good quarterback coach. And I think Glenn is really, really special. And it goes all the way back to Matt Ryan saying to Mike Saravo, hey, he's a really good coach. You should hire him, because he was his coach at Atlanta. And I just want to make sure I give him a ton of credit. But TJ, I don't think TJ needs anything special. I just think he needs another week, and I think you'll just see him continue to get better and better and better.
Consider it part of your job to maintain a level of awareness of who's getting called, what's happening?
They're all getting called. If you're a good player, you're getting called. It's just the way football is now.
Is it as simple as a DM? They just get like a DM?
No. It's way more surreptitious than that. It's way more. Just think about it. You call they call the whatever coach. I mean, it is what it is. It's my coach. My coaches get upset about it. I'm like, what do you think you guys do to me? And then what? I mean, I just signed a contract extension, right? Because maybe someone else showed. I mean, it's just what it is, right? All I'll say is, my point is that I always want our players to see, hey, if you stick around here, you're going to play your best football here. You're going to get developed here, unlike anything else, and we can take care of our guys. Now, people want to get taken care of sometimes before they produce. You know what I mean? And so that's the hard part. You have to pay a high school recruit to come in. You have to pay a certain amount and all those things, but. Emmett's going to get his due. I mean, he's going to be up for all these awards. He's going to be a national whatever, and he's going to have his decision to make, and we'll support him no matter what. But that's the message is what Troy's done here is he's put the place on overdrive, and that's why look at all the other sports. I mean, how are we this good in all these other sports? It's the nutrition, it's the facilities, it's the coaches, it's the investment in coaches. It's the University of Nebraska athletics is beyond elite, and it's we have alignment here from the top down that not many places have. I talked to a lot of my coaching friends. They would kill for the situation we have between our board and our president and our chancellor and our AD and the assistant coaches here. I mean, I said it when I signed the contract extension. I think probably no. Trust me, you're going to see more coaches leave good jobs for other jobs because they're chasing what we have here, resources and alignment. And so I want to have really good players, and I want players who other people are calling them, and I want players who want to be here because it's one of the best places in the country. And I want my assistant coaches to people be calling my assistant coaches saying, hey, why don't you come here? I mean, it just means you have good people, right? It's a good problem to have. I hope next year you guys are asking me about, hey, we heard your name for this job. It means I did a good job. So it's just part of it. But this is an amazing place, and people should want to be here like we want to be here.
Coach, with stacking wins, more and more wins, you put yourself probably more in contention for a Florida Bowl game. How much would it mean to you to see Jacory and Shavers get to play in that state, and how much inroads could that make in that state recruiting-wise?
A great question. And as I said, we'll be grateful for any bowl. I mean, back-to-back bowl wins. It's not where we want to be, but it's better than we were. But yeah, I think to go play an SEC team in a Premier Bowl game, and to your point, go back to Florida. We affectionately call it Flobraska. I love players from the state of Florida. They love the game. They love competing. They love flying around. I mean, one of these days I should have you guys come out and watch the PAT field goal period. I mean, Jacory just literally runs the period, screams and yells and talks trash. I mean, it's just give me 10 of those guys, and what else could we do? Yeah, I think that'd be really cool. I hadn't really thought about it till you said it. You can always tell when I'm not anticipating something. I kind of hesitate up here, and I'm hesitating, but that would be really cool, and I think it'd be really good for us in recruiting to take this brand. And I think, I saw some ranked teams on Saturday. That was a late game for us. I saw some ranked teams with not a lot of people in their stadiums, and and it's like, well, if you like atmosphere, if you like crowd, if you like being followed, come be a part of Husker Nation, man. We got something that not many people have, and so I'm sure we'll probably travel pretty well. I'm sure bowl games are dying to get us, and but right now, we got bye week, and then next week go try to play our best game next week.
Last year, you didn't know that you'd be playing in the postseason until November 15th. Year before, you didn't know that you wouldn't until Black Friday. Having
Thanks
that
for bringing that up.
knowledge,
Jeez,
yeah,
just ruined my day.
having that knowledge that back in on November 1st this year that you would, and now you can go through this month knowing what your December is going to look like. Does that make a difference? Does that matter in like the training and the scheduling and everything?
Yes. It's kind of weird for me, to be quite honest with you. Like, I'm literally like sitting to Susan today. Like, the schedule's changed so much. I'm like, wait, we can't bring in, because the portal's not till January. But when a team hires a new coach now, those kids can go in the portal. I'm like, so we can't bring them in on a visit? And they're like, no, it's dead. So I'm still trying to. It's very, like I've said before, like, this time with the new rules, house settlement, all that, it's very much like back in COVID when I was in the NFL, when I'd plan out like a 2-month schedule, off-season schedule, and they'd say, nope, that changed. I have to tear it up. But yeah, I think it does. Like, even this bye week right now, right? Like, it's like, hey, we have another month of football, so we're going to take this approach. Last year, obviously the portal was before bowl games, so people were opting out, and that's why they've moved it now to after, so kids can play in the bowl games and then decide, if they're going to go in the portal or not after that. So yeah, I think so. I think it does. It affects, kind of where we are. And uniquely, I mean, when we lost last week, we knew our hopes of going to the CFP were over. And as I said to our guys, like, hey, you're going to have to play because you love each other, because you're a competitor, because you love to win, and you love being a part of the University of Nebraska. And I think they certainly did that on Saturday, which was really cool. But schedule-wise, I just think it allows us to, now know, like, hey, we're going to train, like even it used to be I'd play on, like last year, we played on Friday, and I was getting prepared to go on the road. Last couple of years, 2 years ago, like, we lost that Black Friday game, and then I was out the next week. It'll be dead. I'll be in the office, so it'll be so different. But we'll adjust. We'll adapt. Do I have a presser next Monday? Yep. You guys.